In 1946, David Keith Lynch was born in Missoula, Montana, a small town at the time in which is an ongoing inspiration as well as many of the other suburban towns he's lived in throughout his childhood. His father was a research scientist for the U.S. Forest Service, which required them to move frequently. Growing up, he always wanted to be a part of the art world, starting with painting. Studying painting at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, then transferring to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. Experimenting with more mediums, he created Six Men Getting Sick 6 Times, a short experimental animation. In 1970, he began his filmmaking at the American Film Institute for Advanced Film Studies. Lynch started to work on his first feature film, Eraserhead, which was written and directed by his creative mind over several years, coming out in 1977. His move to Philadelphia inspired his dark surrealist cityscape narrative, calling it the Real Philadelphia Story. There were places there that had been allowed to decay, Lynch recalls. There was so much more than fear and crime that just for a moment there was an opening to another world. This film became largely noticed amongst many of the people within the industry, and Lynch went straight to work on his Hollywood break, The Elephant Man, then later, Dune. After their success, he distanced himself from the typical Hollywood film, which is what I want to talk about today. Lynch is an avid practitioner of transcendental meditation and finds his inspiration from it. This meditation is different from others because you don't aim to control your brain, but rather just letting it go and see where it takes you by silently repeating a word or phrase to help settle down into your deep subconscious. Because of this practice, he writes down all of his ideas while meditating and explores them further in his works. He despises when people ask him what his art means.
Would you like to expound on that a little?
No.
People interpret art in their own ways based off of their own experiences and preferences, so he doesn't want to get away from that. By starting out with painting, he has many artists that he draws from, such as At times, you don't know if what you're seeing is the reality or something stranger on screen. In Twin Peaks, Agent Dale Cooper has dreams of a surreal room lined with red curtains and talks to the girl who he's investigating her death. People within this room speak in a very unsettling way. The actors memorized their lines backward and they shot the scene backwards as well to flip it in post, making the dialogue understandable again.
When you see me again, it won't be me.
A significant theme within his films are his dream and surreal sequences. They all teeter on the absurd and being grounded within reality. However, most feel like you're being transported into another world. Within his stunning and uncanny visuals, the characters learn vital information about what's happening within their inner psyche and or the strange world around him. Within every piece of film media that he makes, there's an incredibly atmospheric soundtrack accompanying it. Films are 50% visual and 50% sound. Sometimes sound even overplays the visual, Lynch says. He loves throwing in a scene where a character sings and or dances. In Blue Velvet, the song Blue Velvet by Bobby Vinton is played multiple times throughout the film. Dorothy sings it at the nightclub, and Lynch throws in another singing number when Jeffrey is taken against his will to where Dorothy's kid is being held hostage.
I close my eyes, then I drift away.
Twin Peaks has an iconic score that contributes so much to the general tone and feeling of the show. There's also a dance scene called Audrey's Dance, which is seductive and yet a little eerie. If someone put on a David Lynch film and you happen to walk in, you would most likely be able to automatically know it's his work. His reoccurring visuals of red curtains, beautiful Americana imagery, and dreamy, colorful lighting create such a unique feeling. Lynch often puts in rather unusual kinks and sexual behavior in his films, which is predominantly seen in Blue Velvet. The main character, Jeffrey, comes across a night singer, Dorothy, while doing his own investigation of a case connected to a severed ear he found in a field. He sneaks into her home and hides once he realizes she had come back. Engaging in voyeurism by watching her undress, she finds him and threatens to kill him. A very dangerous man who has kidnapped her son barges in, where they have violent sexual interaction while he occasionally huffs a drug from an oxygen mask while calling her mommy and hitting her when she looks at him.
Baby wants to fuck. Get ready to fuck! You fuckers, fucker!
Jeffrey and Dorothy begin to have a sexual relationship after she threatens him more with a knife. She continues the cycle of abuse that has been done onto her, where she wants him to hit her, but he feels uncomfortable with it. Lynch goes on to say, sex is a doorway to something so powerful and mystical, but movies usually depict it in a completely flat way. Lynch portrays American life as beautiful on the surface, yet there lies evil everywhere you go. His red curtains can represent that, leaving you wondering what's on the other side and will there be answers. People have all shades of darkness and secrets, which he explores in all of his works. In Twin Peaks, all of the characters, no matter how innocent they seem, have many deep hidden secrets that slowly are uncovered. His style is now described as Lynchian. Lynchian as a word has been described as weird. Lim boils it down to abysmal terror, piercing beauty, and convulsive sorrow. Lynch's movies, he writes, give form to submerged traumas and desires of our age. Twin Peaks is one of the most influential TV shows ever. TV back in the late 80s was viewed as lesser than films, where the plots are not as complex with many surface-level sitcoms and crime dramas. It's a character-driven drama, meaning that it has complex narrative style. Instead of each episode having a plot wrap-up with resolutions, the plot carries over from the entire season. We see this a lot today in modern TV series, but back in 1990, this changed how people saw TV as a medium. So many other filmmakers and auteurs are inspired by David Lynch and will continue to draw from his inspirations of the paths that he has paved in cinematic history.
Spent many years with little iron hooks in their backs up on Sunset Boulevard. But they tell me that there's this all-pervading happiness underneath everything. And the more time I spend with them, the more I believe it. And so we wish you peace and happiness, and long live Eraserhead. Thanks a million.